Working night security can be quite boring. All you do is walk around a big building and make sure everything is okay. If you work in a mall, it could be very lonely because your mall might not have any 24-hour stores. So you'd just wander around an empty food court and watch the CCTV screens for hours. That was my job. I worked at a big building. It could be a mall, a hospital, or an office. It doesn't matter. All I know is that it had long, empty hallways, and I had to sit in a small security office for most of my shift. Most nights were uneventful. All I would do is round the premises, turn off all the lights, and then just sit there and watch the CCTV. Sometimes, I'd get bored and start watching old recordings from that day to see if I missed anything. Usually nothing interesting happened, but one night it did. I was sitting in the office watching the main entrance when suddenly I saw a person walk past the front desk. I got up to go check it out. In our building, there were 3 entrances. The first 2 were right next to each other and led to the parking lot. They had glass doors and motion sensors, so they automatically opened when you approached them and closed when you walked through them. The third entrance was across the hall from the security office. It also had glass doors and motion sensors. These doors stayed open during the day, but at night they locked and you had to use a key card to get in and out. This entrance also had a push alarm button right next to it, which I had to press every hour to make sure the system was working. The person who was on the screen entered through the second door, which was weird because that door wasn't supposed to be unlocked at night. I rushed over to the entrance, but when I opened the door and walked outside, no one was there. When I came back, I checked the replay. It was a man wearing a hoodie. He walked down the hallway and then disappeared. And since he didn't trigger the motion sensor, the door remained open. I watched the live feed, but there was no sign of him. I decided to watch the feed from the camera outside the second entrance. He couldn't have left without setting off the motion sensor on the door. Right. I sat there for about half an hour, but nothing happened. I went to bed early that night. The next day, I asked my manager if someone had reported seeing a stranger. He said no, but he admitted that the cameras had some blind spots. Still, it was odd that no one had noticed anything. I thought it was a one-off thing. On my next shift, I was checking the hallways when the same thing happened. I looked at the live CCTV feed and saw 3 people walking down the hallway. They walked right past me and continued walking. I followed them until they disappeared from view. When I checked the live feed again, they were gone. What the hell? I quickly checked the hallway I had just come from. There was no one there. I even checked the blind spots, but there was no sign of these people. They never triggered the motion sensors or opened any of the doors. Since they didn't set off any alarms, I didn't immediately check the live feed. I should have done that. I only realized later that when I checked the CCTV footage, I could barely see their faces. They were either blurred by the camera or had their backs turned to it. At this point, I was pretty scared. I asked my boss what to do, but he just said to keep an eye on things. No one was supposed to be in the building at night. So why were these people there? I was sitting in the security office trying to calm myself down when it happened again. I saw another person walking down the hallway. This person stopped in front of the camera and waved at it before stepping forward and disappearing like what the hell? I don't want to scare you guys, so I'll cut to the chase. I looked at the live feed and saw him right behind me. I spun around, but there was no one there. I don't know how to describe what I saw next. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a dark shape in front of me. I turned back to my computer screen and saw the man on the recording. He was standing right where I was sitting. It was only a split second, but I saw his face. It wasn't blurred like the others. He was smiling at me. Well, grinning isn't the right word. It was more like he was mocking me. I looked at the live feed, and there was no one in the office. I'm talking about my actual office. The office that I'm filming this in right now. I think I may have mentioned that before. And that's when I saw the recordings. They weren't just from tonight, they were from the last few nights too. Every night, at around the same time, there would be one person walking through the empty hallway. But tonight, there were 3. It was always the same exact route. They would walk from the far end of the hallway, past my office, and then disappear around the corner. But there was something else. In one of the recordings, I saw myself. I was sitting in a chair watching the same camera that I'm watching right now. The most disturbing part was that I was sitting there, yet I was also standing up watching the camera. Maybe it was a recording from a few nights ago, when I was actually there and I forgot about it. But why did it show me watching the camera in real time? I tried to shake off what I saw, but when I checked the camera feed, I saw another dark shape in front of me. I turned around and saw that one of the cameras was recording me. It wasn't the one in the office, but the one outside in the hallway. How could it be recording me if I was in the office? The only way it could have seen me was through the window of the door. Then I saw them, those same people from before. They were standing in the hallway outside my office, right in front of the camera. They were looking at me and I was looking at them. I turned back to the screen to see what they looked like. Again, their faces were blurred, except for the guy in the middle. His face wasn't blurred. I swear he was smiling at me. I remember screaming and hitting the desk. That's when the power went out. I'll admit, I panicked. I grabbed my flashlight and ran to the third entrance. I didn't bother opening the door or checking the other cameras. I just wanted to get out of there. When I finally calmed down, I called my boss and told him to check the cameras. He sent someone over to help me, but they didn't find anything. It turned out that the power outage was building-wide, so all the cameras went down. I thought that was the end of it, but the next night, I was watching the live feed from the hallway. When all the cameras went down, my flashlight flickered and died. When the backup generator kicked in, I looked at the monitors. The cameras outside showed every hallway filled with shadowy people. They were all standing still, facing the security office door. Then I turned to the camera pointed at me. It was black. Last night, I saw them all standing still. Tonight, they were moving. I didn't get to see much because the screen went black again. But I saw enough. Some were standing close to the door, some were running towards it. One of them reached out like he was trying to grab the door handle, but then he stepped back and they all froze. It was like they were waiting for something. Then, I heard a loud bang. It sounded like someone punching the door. That's when I heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps coming closer and closer. I hid under my desk, hugging my head. I don't remember what happened after that. Maybe I passed out because when I came to, I was sitting in a chair. The room was dark, but the screens were on. I looked at the clock. It was 3:15 a.m. I wasn't hurt or anything, but I did have a splitting headache. It's always the same. Every night at 3:15 a.m., the office camera cuts out. I'm starting to wonder if I'm watching them or if they're watching me.